Digimon Survive has been met with split opinions, with virtual novel fans really standing by it, and casual fans finding it a bit of a letdown. And while the Digimon games have always been experimental, from virtual pet simulators to RPGs to dungeon crawlers to fighters and beyond, Digimon Survive is in a lane of its own as a virtual novel and tactics game hybrid. And by hybrid, I mean 70% virtual novel and 30% tactical gameplay. And while there are many players who love virtual novels, this choice of direction was to many players' dismay, given the brand of Digimon leans more on energy and action while balancing its story narratives. While I don't want to judge this game for what it wasn't setting out to do, and to judge this game based on what it actually is, I think it's fair to address the elephant in the room. Many of us playing this game felt there was such a missed opportunity to make Survive the Final Fantasy Tactics of Digimon games. And while in all fairness, it never set out to be that. However, all the ingredients were here to please fans on a narrative level as well as a gameplay level. Before we go on, do all the YouTube things, like this video so it reaches more people, subscribe so I can get my subscriber count up, and leave a comment. And without further ado, let's get into the heart of Digimon Survive, its main cast. The main cast of Survive is clearly inspired by the cast of the show Digimon Adventure. Takuma, our lead character, is very much the goggle-headed leader that is Tai, and even has Agumon as his partner. Aoi is the motherly figure of the group that is based on Sora. Her partner Labramon feels like a spiritual successor to Biyomon or Gabumon. Monoru is clearly inspired by Izzy. His partner is Falcomon, which is a nice addition to the bird Digimon partners of the main cast. Saki, my favorite, is very much a modernized version of Mimi, even down to her flower-esque Digimon Floramon, who's very similar to Palmon. Kaito is the sometimes cool, sometimes cold, worrying brother that is like Matt. His Digimon is Dracomon, who's a bit of a wild card. Shuji looks like he would be an upgrade to the responsible yet worrywart Joe, but ends up being an abusive version of that. His partner Lopmon echoes the journey the Lopmon took in the Digimon movie. Miu is very much the kid trying to prove their value, which is a very reoccurring theme in Digimon, and has shades of TK and Mimi. Her partner is the welcome addition of Sayokomon, who is a very playful aquatic Digimon like Gomamon. And Ryu is clearly the spiritual successor to Kari. Just kidding, Ryu is kinda just there. And Kunmon is our cast's main bug Digimon too. Haru and Miyuki also have Digimon partners, Gabumon and Renamon. Shifting our focus to the Digimon, while there are a diverse set of Digimon you can recruit in the game, and there's something there for everyone, the main cast of Digimon have some very interesting Digivolutions. In my playthrough, Agumon had 3 different Digivolution routes based on your choices and interactions. They lead to data, vaccine, and virus. On my playthrough, I was surprised because I was expecting Agumon to turn into Greymon, and I got Tyrannomon, which is pretty cool, because I typically lean towards data-type Digimon as my favorites. The only caveat to this are the Digivolution routes are also linked towards which characters will die in the story, so you kinda have to make a decision which Digimon you want to get, or which characters will ultimately end up dying. Next up is Falcomon. Falcomon turns into Diatrimon, and I was expecting Parrotmon to be honest, and while I'm a bit on the fence about this evolution, its next evolutions of Crowmon and its megaforms remind me a lot of a masculine version of Birdramon and Phoenixmon. Next up is Labramon. Labramon turns into Dobermon. It's okay, but it seems a bit dark given it's supposed to be a reflection of its partner Aoi's heart. But I do respect it because it harkens back to the monster-esque form the champion levels are known for. And as the story goes on, she digivolves into Cerberusmon. And while I don't like this design, I like the reason why it happens for Aoi, and it's a reflection of her wanting to protect others. I was a bit disappointed how far we've ditched the feminine aspects of Labramon, but its path reminds me a lot of Biyomon and Gabumon's Digivolution journeys, and how the embodiments of love, friendship, or in this case protection, can be a dominant force of nature, so I respect it, and her megaform carries this theme on as well. Moving on to my favorite, Floramon. And given she's my favorite, I have a lot to say about her. Floramon digivolving to Vegemon was just so disrespectful, and for a number of reasons. First off, the scene played out terribly. Given Saki and Shuichi had a heated argument in the previous scene, narratively, you would think her arc would have built towards her rescuing Shuichi, but instead she is rescuing Ryo. Rescuing Shuichi instead would have been more impacting given the build-up. So this felt out of place given the game typically tries to echo the structure of the Digimon show's episodic arc format. Second, Floramon's main evolution is Kiwimon, so I was a bit surprised to see Vegemon here. Third, Floramon digivolving into Vegemon is supposed to be a key point in Saki's story as a reflection of her strength, and Vegemon is kinda cringy. And to completely ruin the moment, Vegemon's signature attack is Poop Toss. Like, imagine if Mimi is evolving Palmon in Digimon Adventure, only for her to throw poop in what is meant to be a climactic moment for the character. Fortunately, Vegemon digivolves into Blossomon, and this makes infinitely more sense for Saki and Floramon. Saki even comments on how she hopes Floramon will digivolve into something cute and less creepy next time, and I'm glad they acknowledged that. And for her final form, Floramon ends up with Sarasmon, which more than made up for Vegemon's stupidity. The design is so cool, and very much looks like if Anjuwoman DNA digivolved with Rosemon, and it's a perfect fit for Floramon, and plus, she kicks butt. Next up is Dracmon. Dracmon starts evolving off-screen, which was kind of an odd choice considering the story set up a nice moment where it could have happened when going up against Arnukenimon. I wasn't able to see all of his Digivolutions because he ended up dying in my playthrough, and Digivolutions are connected to interactions. So, there is some incentive in replaying the game to see what you would have missed in your first playthrough. Following this is Sayakomon. Sayakomon digivolving into Shellmon was well earned, and the Digivolution made sense and paid great homage to Season 1. The Shellmon digivolving to Mermaimon was perfect as well. All Sayakomon's Digivolutions made sense, and while Sayakomon reminds me a little bit of Gomamon from the anime, the moment had similar vibes to TK when Patamon digivolved to Angemon for the first time. Plus, Mermaimon has a great design, especially for a water ultimate. Okay, we have a mega rant coming in with mega spoilers, and also a mega triggering subject, so viewer discretion is advised. We're going to be talking about Lopmon next. Lopmon digivolving to Wendigomon was terrible on so many levels. Lopmon digivolving to Wendigomon is fine by itself. It's how the sequence went down that was awful, and probably one of the worst moments in Digimon history. Lopmon's partner Shuichi is the worst character in all forms of Digimon media. The show, the games, the manga, etc. The whole story arc of him abusing Lopmon till they dark digivolve into Wendigomon and subsequently getting eaten. Yes, Shuichi gets eaten by his own Digimon. First off, I think stories and abusive relationships should be handled better and responsibly, and in the case of Lopmon, it felt somewhere along the lines of animal abuse and child abuse. Second, I think stories and abuse can be written well and have significance in mature stories. I know they were going for more of a mature storyline, but I felt this was unnecessarily cruel and off-brand for Digimon. It felt like they mainly wanted a shocking death scene from an abusive relationship and not much else. Third, everyone has a favorite Digimon from the main cast. I know Agumon is always front and center, but everyone gravitates towards a different Digimon. For me, it's Floramon. Imagine for a second Lopmon was your favorite. I had Lopmon in my party since I recruited them, only to have them abused by an irredeemable character, and it never digivolves until it's time to battle it as a boss. This is not a Final Fantasy VII Aerith death scene, this is a slap in the face to the player. And lastly, nobody is asking for Digimon to tackle subjects like physical and mental abuse, and verbal abuse. And honestly, the entire cast as well as the entire game as a whole are worse for entertaining this story arc. So since I'm already in rant mode, I want to talk about the cons of this game so we can end on a positive note. Digimon Survive commits some egregious gaming sins. First off, the game's opening. You don't really get into the gameplay until about an hour into the game, and that's never a good sign for any game that doesn't give its audience enough credit and bombards them with intros and tutorials. Another point that many people would hold against this game is that it's very story heavy, and it's just a fact that this virtual novel direction of a game isn't for everyone, especially when fans are expecting something more high energy, hands-on gameplay, or something that's more familiar to what the Digimon brand is known for. At times, this story can be quite depressing, and while the game should be given credit for attempting to cater to the adult audience of the Digimon fandom, Digimon doesn't have enough frequency of new game releases these days to risk breaking away from its own core formula. Another thing that bothered me about the game is the game blocks you from saving everyone on your first playthrough. You have to play the game a second time if you wish to save everyone, which I think takes the audience for granted and is quite presumptuous to assume most players will play a virtual novel twice just to get the true ending. The game doubles down on this by splitting you up and locks you out of certain characters in Digimon that may be some players' favorites, and in some cases unavoidably killing them off. This is heightened by the lead character's Digivolution branches being tied to the choices that can get main characters killed in the storyline. To make matters worse, half the cast has terrible chemistry with their Digimon partners, like insufferable antagonistic energy. I ended up feeling really bad for the Digimon who were doing their best and got stuck alongside some of the worst protagonists in the entire Digimon multimedia franchise. And to add insult to injury, some of these interactions are lengthy dialogues that are on par with Cyber Sleuth. This is fine if the characters are likable, but unfortunately, half the cast isn't, and not all the main characters have good relationship with their Digimon, and at times it's jarring, and at worst it's just downright cruel. An example of this is there's a scene where the party comes across an altercation with Kaito and a mysterious woman, as he threatens her and makes the sound effect where he actually hits her, and everyone in the party is just so chill about one of the main characters hitting a woman based on little evidence. Fortunately, the woman turns out to be an evil Digimon, Arnukenimon, but still, the party wasn't even aware of this at the time and thought she was human. The game also has a bit of a pacing issue. The game tries to be an interactive anime, but here's the issue. A Digimon episode resolves in about 30 minutes and also includes action. These scenes last far longer, and the dialogue can overstay its welcome for how long the scenes are, especially when the characters just ignore many blatant, offensive, or unnecessarily cruel moments. Some scenes should last about 5 minutes at best, and end up going for like 20 minutes. I know everyone's going to hand-wave this criticism away by saying it's a virtual novel, but video games, like comics, are visual mediums, so I wish there was a bit more to these scenes if it's going for more of an interactive anime vibe, on top of the expectation that Digimon games are known for a bit more than this. Speaking on the standard Digimon games are known for, another issue are the reused assets and coming back to the same locations over and over again seem tedious and cheap at times. Especially for an IP like Digimon, I would have expected more from the locations of the digital world, given locations like File Island were a character in itself, and had so much diversity in its different settings, which brought a lot of flavor to the world. I guess this game was made during the pandemic and had a crazy development process, hence why it took so long to come out. But let's move on to the positives, because I do want to end this video focusing on why I love Digimon and the video game franchise it has. For starters, some of the dialogue is actually pretty funny, and I found myself saving and reloading just to see different reactions, given the game limits your amount of interactions per chapter. And Takuma, Saki, Aoi, and Miyu are good protagonists that strike a balance of familiar and something new and feel perfectly at home in the Digimon universe. Also, I really do enjoy the character designs. I think everybody really hits their mark. I also really enjoyed the opening theme of the game because it very much strikes the tone of what this game is going for, and aside from that, it's just a solid RPG track. As for gameplay, I really enjoy the battles with specific tactic objectives like escort missions or protecting others, which is typically something I dislike in games, but it's refreshing from a tactical point of view, and there was clearly a lot of thought put into making these segments. Honestly, with a little bit more polish and depth, I could see myself playing an entire Digimon Tactics game given how addicting this is. Also, my favorite location in Digimon Survive is the amusement park section. It reminded me a lot of the episode where Mimi was Princess of the Gekomon and felt like a true Digimon anime moment. Another positive is this game's roster of Digimon. Let's just say one of your characters don't survive, or if the main cast doesn't resonate with you. There are plenty of Digimon here, and there's something here for everyone. So in conclusion, I can honestly say I can't recommend Digimon Survive to most Digimon fans. Maybe die-hard Digimon fans who enjoy revisiting the world of Digimon, or people who adore virtual novels will find something here. But the sad reality is, virtual novels are niche, and even games like Zero Escape's Nonary games do it far better. Too many times I felt unrewarded for sticking with this game, and it ultimately felt like I was trying to beat this game to make up for all the Digimon World games I didn't beat as a child, and so I can make this review. I felt like Digimon Survive is scraps in comparison to the amount of games feasting with Pokemon. I don't enjoy saying this because Digimon games are very underrated, and I want Digimon to have a full-on comeback. Unfortunately, this is not it. But don't lose hope, because more Digimon games are on the horizon. What are your thoughts on Digimon Survive? Let me know in the comment section below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe so it can reach more people. Alright, me Jinx, signing out.